Da står vi kanskje ved en av Europas viktigste kvinner. Hun jobber i lobbyvirksomhet for alle bilfabrikantene i Europa, og de har det tøft hvis vi skal tro henne. Sigrid de Vries, I heard that you were concerned about the electrification of the car industry in Europe.
I wouldn't use the word concerned. I think we're embracing it, and industry is gearing up for an electric future. But we have to make this transformation in a very short period of time. So there are many challenges that we need to tackle together. So I believe we need to be realistic about the challenges and then work together to tackle them and get there where we want to go. We need the market to embrace electrification. We need sufficient charging infrastructure at home, but also public charging points for cars and for trucks. And we need for the industry also to have access to the value chain, the battery value chain. So both the raw materials and then the components and then the battery assembly. And then they need to go into electric vehicles that are actually then also affordable to build in Europe.
Because in Norway, everybody wants EVs, but in Europe it's under 30% who wants an EV.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because unlike Norway, there is no sufficient infrastructure. There are no purchase incentives and other measures to stimulate the use and ownership of EVs. So Norway really is a front runner. It's showing the way, but it's also an economy that is, or a society that is affluent enough and that really, has made a concerted effort in all these dimensions: market, infrastructure, industry, to make it work. And this is what is way less happening in the rest of Europe, and where we need to work together now to make it happen.
What are the Europeans? What do they want? Is it cheap cars or?
I think many Europeans want indeed mobility to be accessible and inclusive and affordable. But just to come back on the infrastructure, in 50% of all the public charging points for cars are currently in just 2 EU member states, in Germany and in the Netherlands, 50%. So that shows you that the rest of Europe, it's way more difficult to actually use an EV, and before you can use it, even if it were affordable to do, you won't consider buying or using one. And we've seen that also with some of the rental companies that were also embracing EVs and took them in their fleets, that they are coming back from that a little bit because the customers, the market are not ready yet. The market is not mature yet for this mass adoption of electrification. And I think if you want to reach the target in 2035, which is just 11 years away, for 100% EVs sold in Europe, we need to make sure that this tipping point is reached, that we have mass adoption of electrification, mass rollout. But it's also an illusion to think that we can do this green transformation without China at all. We have so ambitious targets, we will need the technology and the materials coming from there. So we need to somehow manage that properly as EU in our relations with China. I don't have a crystal ball, and I think the European auto industry has a lot going for it. Vehicle making is a real,
Tradition.
it's a tradition, it's an art, some will say, but it's a real competence. It's about rolling out high quality, innovative products in mass numbers, in high volumes. Competition in itself is not a new thing. We've seen it with Japanese brands, with Korean brands, and it's not a bad thing either. I think it helps to make things more affordable and to spur innovation. So our members are not afraid of competition at all. They do want a fair playing field, a level playing field, of course. And the interesting thing is that because of how the legislation today is structured, vehicle manufacturers will have to pay penalties if they do not meet the targets. No one else has to pay. There is no penalty for governments if they don't put the infrastructure on the road. There is no penalty for battery manufacturers. There is no, that shows you that the incentive is different for the different actors, whereas we do really need for this to be a team sport. So it's not like, oh, we're asking for help. No, we need everybody to support this transition. We need to work together. It must be a concerted effort. It's a community play.